Okay, there we go. Let's start. Okay, so with index.html, let's get started here. So as you can see, we have 3 boxes, not yet, but we have the notes. So we're going to create 3 boxes, and I'm going to show you how to work with positioning in CSS. So positioning meaning the way you move certain elements relative to containers or the screen itself. So we're going to go ahead and create a division tag. We're going to give it a class box1, like we've been doing so far, and then close the division tag. And inside, we're going to do heading 1. We're going to say hello world. And then we're going to do another heading, no, just a heading 2. I'm going to say goodbye world. Okay. So heading 1 and this heading 2 are inside this box1 class. Okay. That's what we're going to work with so far. Okay, and if you run it, it should only give you hello world and goodbye world, as you see on the screen. And let me know when you have that.
I have it.
Okay. So for box 2, we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to do, let's say, we're going to do heading 1, and it's going to be hello world, another heading 2, goodbye world, and heading 3, bonjour world. So let me write that down for you. So same thing, a div class, and this time we're going to call it box 2. And then we're going to end the div class. And in between the div class, we're going to have heading 1. You could just copy and paste it from box 1, but I'm going to write it down. On heading 2 with goodbye world. And lastly, a heading 3 that says bonjour world. Okay. When you run it, it should look like that. And then we're doing the same thing for positioning for box 3. So we're just going to copy and paste it under box 3 section, and the only change we're going to make is just change the 2 to a 3. So it should look like that. Let me know when you have that, and then I'm going to switch to the CSS style sheet.
I have it.
Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually make these classes actually boxes, right? Because right now it's under a class called box, but it's not a box visually in the browser. So this is the objective here, but we're going to get to that in a second. For now, we're just going to target the box. So box 1. And inside the curly brackets, we're going to use the border property. And again, we can do a one-liner and just specify the size of the border. So 1 pixel because we want it to be thin, the color of the border, and then the style of the border, and then semicolon. And then when we're gonna run it, and it's gonna give you, a box here. Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna copy and paste this for box 2 and box 3 as well. So I'm gonna paste it here for box 2, and I'm gonna paste it here for box 3. And the only thing we're gonna do is just change the class names. So make sure you change it to box 2 and 3 respectively. And it should be the same thing here. Okay. All right. We're going to actually make these boxes a little bit bigger. So we're going to give it a width of 400 pixels and a height of, let's say, Let's actually do a width of 450 pixels and a height of 400 pixels. Let's change that to 450 pixels and then a height of 400 pixels. And what that's going to do is going to just make the box a little bit bigger. And we're going to apply these two properties to box 2 and box 3 as well. Okay, let's run that. So it should look like this when you're done with that. Okay. And notice that there's no space in between the boxes. So the way we're going to fix that is by adding a margin top to box 2 and a margin top to box 3. So we're going to go here, we're going to do margin top, and let's do a small thing like 5 pixels, a small space. And then same thing for box 3, we're going to do margin top. So from the top, there's going to be a space of 5 pixels. Okay, run that. And now you see a little bit of space here between the boxes. Let me know when you have all of that.
Done.
Okay. So if we go back to box 1 and then we go to our objective is to position our heading 100 pixels from the top of the box. So I believe you have that in your template, right? This comment?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So this is our objective. The way we're going to do this is by targeting the actual heading 1 in the first place. So box 1, and then we're going to target the actual element, so heading 1. And inside, the way we position things is just simply by addressing with what side you want to position, or like from the top, do you want 100 pixels, from the bottom, from the left, from the right? So let's say in this case, we're just doing from the top of the box, we want 100 pixels, right? So let's say we want to run this. Let's run it. There's actually nothing is actually going to happen here. Why? Because we didn't specify, we didn't use the position property. We didn't tell the browser, we didn't tell, not the browser, the HTML document how to move, what method to use to move. And the way we do this is by using a position property, this property called position, and we're going to set it to absolute. So I took a little quote here from W3 Schools that really explains it well. The position property specifies the type of positioning method used for an element. An element with position absolute is positioned relative to the nearest positioned ancestor. Now, the nearest positioned ancestor is actually box 1, okay? But we wanted, okay, so we wanted to move from box 1. So automatically by default, if I run this, you can see hello world is now 100 pixels from box 1. But let's say I had something else in here. Let's say I had like another box. Well, I only wanted to move 100 pixels from box 1, not anything else. So because I have, let's say like a box 0 in between, it's gonna move relative to box 0, and that's gonna look a little iffy. So we want it to move relative to box 1. So regardless of its ancestor, which is right here, we have to specify the relative box. So in this case, we're going to go to box 1 and we're going to add the property position, and we're going to give it a value of relative. So what this is saying is whatever position that is set with to absolute in any declaration, what that's going to do is going to, whatever position you give it, so in this case, top 100 pixels from the top, it's going to only do it relative to whatever, let's say in this case, box has a relative position. Okay, so if we run that, it's going to be the exact same thing because that already happens by default because it's right above it, it's its ancestor. But if there was something in between here, let me actually do it for you. Hold on, so you can actually get a visual here. Between, let's do Let's do another box right at the end here. Let's call it extra box or just box 0. No, let's do extra box 0. Let's copy the same thing here. Let's do box extra as a class. Let's just delete heading 3. Run that. Okay, let me know when you have that so I can switch back to CSS.
Have it.
Okay. If we go back to our CSS, and instead of going all the way down here and styling the box extra, we're gonna actually go in between box 1 and dot box 1 heading 1. Okay, we're gonna do box extra, and we're just gonna copy the declarations we made in here, all except the position. Oops, let me delete that. Okay. And also, before you run anything, delete position relative from box 1. Okay. Let me know when you have all of this.
I have it.
Okay. Now when we run it, you're going to find that where we are, that it's only going to move. Oh, hold on. Let's actually go to index.html. Oh, let's see. So we can know what we're doing here. Let's delete this. Call it extra heading, just so we see the difference and we know which actual box it is. So, where is it? Okay, it's right here. And in HTML, actually move it to the top. So copy and paste it and move it to the top of box 1. Run that. Okay, do you have that?
Yeah.
Okay, so now notice that this is the extra. Honestly, let me just do extra box instead of heading so you can really see. So this is the extra box, right? This is the extra box. And notice how if you go back to style.css and you have dot box extra, we remember that we want the position heading 1 to move 100 pixels from the top of box 1, right? Of box 1. Currently, if, hold on, I don't even know where it is, where it looks like. Box 1, heading 1. So if you, this should be box 1, and you clearly do not see heading 1. Hello world is not there. So maybe we did something wrong here. Let's change this to box 1. So go to index.html and change your heading 1 to box 1. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay. So now notice how in your extra box, even if box 1 is actually under box 1, wow, I just really said that. Even if heading 1 is under box 1, it's going to be in the extra box, right? Because this here is actually box 1, right? Where goodbye world here, the second box is box 1. This is the extra box. And for some reason, our box 1, heading 1, is inside our extra box. Now, this is because if we go back to our style.css, this is where the positioning comes to play. Because we set the position to absolute and we didn't specify what we want, what class or what division we want this to move relative to, it's going by default, it's going to move relative to its positioned ancestor, which is this box here. So now it's actually only 100 pixels from the top of this extra box. But if you specify again position relative to the box that you actually wanted to move relative to, and you run it, it's now going to be positioned relative to box one. So 100 pixels from box one. Do you understand the difference now? The importance of actually specifying which position, the position relative of the element you want, this to move relative to. So that's what makes the difference. If you need to actually put this just to be safe, even if you don't have anything. But by default, if you put position absolute, it's going to move relative to its, whatever came before it. So in this case, box extra, unless we specify what box we actually wanted to move relative to, which in this case is box one. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'm pretty sure you do not have this comment, so I'm going to send that in the chat for you so you could just copy and paste it to your code. So send that in the chat. Okay. If we move on to our objective 2 is to position H2 heading 2 from 200 pixels from the top of the box. So it's basically the same thing. So this is basically box 1, right? And we're going to do dot box 1, target the heading 2, and we want again to say position absolute. So it's going to move relative to whatever property we have it set to relative. So in this case, it's box 1. Not whatever property, whatever selector, or in this case, the class we have it set to relative. It's going to move relative to box 1. And again, we want it to move from the top 200 pixels. So that's going to bring it more to the bottom, below this one. So now you see the difference. So now box 1 is actually, well, you can see that goodbye world moved from here all the way to here because that's 200 pixels. So box 1 is actually 100 pixels from the start, from this line right here. And then goodbye world is 200 pixels from this line right here, from the top. So that's 100 pixels here, and then 200 pixels here from goodbye world to the top of this line right there. Okay? Let me know when you have that.
I have it.
Okay. Now let's go into different types of positions. So there is absolute. There's also a position called sticky. So the objective here is to position heading 2 to be sticky relative to box 2. So yes, it's a little mouthful, but we're gonna get to it. Do you have this comment here? Do you want me to copy and paste it? I'm not sure if I added it in.
It's not in.
Okay, let me send that to you. In the chat. Okay. Okay. So in this case, we are going to target heading 2, dot box 2, heading 2. Oops, we have not in Python. Okay. Dot box 2, heading 2, and we're going to give it a position of sticky. Okay. And we are going to go to box 2 and we're going to set the property position equal to relative so that it's sticky relative to box 2. So let's run that. So what that does, let me actually show you really quickly. you actually have to specify, let's say, from the top 200 pixels. Let me run that, see how that goes. So here's what's happening. This is, I don't want you to get confused. Do you want me to delete the extra box? Like, are you understanding that like the second one is actually the first box and the second and the third box is actually the second box because of this extra box right here?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want me to delete it or do you want me to
Delete it.
delete it? Okay. Let me delete that. Okay, so let's delete the extra box and go back to CSS, delete the dot box extra style, run that, it should be gone. There we go. So we have box 1, box 2, and box 3. Okay, makes much more sense now. So what we did here for box 2 is we took heading 2, which is goodbye world, from box 2. And what we said is we told HTML, hey, I want you to make this heading 2 sticky. So I want you to stick it from the top 200 pixels relative to box 2. So what that does is from the top 200 pixels, so it's not going to move until it passes 200 pixels from box 2. So right now it's at 200 pixels, right? So it's not moving, right? But after it passes 200 pixels, which is like right here from box 2, it's going to move. So it's sticky. Okay? So that's how that works. So it sticks to the actual box. So it's sticky until it passes 200 pixels. That's a much better way to say it. So it sticks to the actual box until it passes 200 pixels from the top. Okay? Let me see if I could find you a better definition for that. One second. Okay. So can you see my screen on the Google Meet?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is what W3 school says about the position sticky declaration. So an element with position sticky is positioned based on the user's scroll position. So a sticky element toggles between relative and fixed depending on the scroll position. It is positioned relative until a given offset position is met in the viewport. Then it sticks in place. So here they give you an example. So try to scroll inside this frame to understand how sticking position works. So if you scroll, there we go, it sticks in place. So again, it is positioned relative, so relative to a certain box until a given offset position is met in the viewport. So in this case, our offset position is from the top 200 pixels. So let me send you that link here. Let me present again. Sorry for that. Okay. So, oh, I didn't send you the link. Here you go. Put it in the little chat. So you can do the demo yourself as well. So basically what it's doing is this when you are specifying something to be sticky, it's going to be relative to box 2, right? So it's going to be the exact same thing. It's not going to move from box 2 until it passes this this certain offset. So in this case, 200 pixels from the top, which is right around here. Then it's going to stop. So if you run it again, it's going to move, and then 200 pixels from the top is where it's going to stop. So let's say, let's do 150 pixels from the top. So it's going to stop a little bit earlier than that now. And let's do something. Let's do something smaller. Let's do 90 pixels. That's all. Give me 1 second. Let me try something. Hmm. Okay. Well, it's okay. I introduced you to it. We don't need to get into the nitty-gritty stuff, but it should be moving a little bit earlier when you kind of put it put the value down for the top. But let's leave it as 200 pixels. So basically, that's what sticky is. It basically sticks to the page, no matter where you are, until a certain point, which should be from the top 200 pixels. So that would be right about here, which it does stop from 200 pixels here. Okay. Let me try something really quickly, but you can go ahead and start with box 3. So box 3 is another positioning method I want to show you. Let's see. So this positioning method is the fixed positioning method. So what this does, it actually fixes a certain element to your page no matter where you are. So it's pretty simple. So the objective is to fix heading 3 relative to nothing, because no matter where you are, it's going to still be fixed. But let's have it fixed. Let's see. Let's think. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do, try this yourself. Do target heading 3 from box 3. I'm pretty sure there's a heading 3, right? We added a heading 3. Yes, we did. So target heading 3 from box 3, and then let me know when you have that, and then I'll go from there. Okay, when you have that, all you have to do to make Bonjour World, which is heading 3, fixed is you just have to specify the actual property, so position, and then give it a value of fixed. Easy as that. So if you run this, it's actually going to have, where's Bonjour World? Oh, we didn't give it a, oh, yeah, properties. And you have to specify again relative to box 3. So run that. That's weird. Didn't we specify? Is it working for you?
Your screen is frozen.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Okay, let me actually go back. So this is what I added. Box 3, heading 3, and then just specified position fixed. And then for box 3, I specified position relative. So let me know when you have that. And then try and see if it actually works because it's not working for me, but it worked when I did it earlier. So maybe I missed something. So like not if it works because you don't know what you're looking for, but if anything changes, let me know. I'm also going to send the objective in the chat so you can copy that. There we go. Okay, found my mistake. So you can leave this. This is right. So box 3, etc. Position relative. You want it to have for some reason. So box 2. Oh, I understand. Okay. So for box 2, we're actually going to, let's see, fix heading 3 from box 2 relative to box, let's say 3. That makes sense. So in this case, if you take a look at box 2, where is it? Bonjour World. Let me actually go to index.html because everything is kind of like all jumbled all over the place and it's not very clear. So box 2, heading 3, let me make it blue. Here, let's do dot box 2, heading 3, make the color blue. Oh, actually, I could have just done it in here. Okay, run that. There we go. So what you see in blue is what's fixed relative to box 3. So it's fixed until, so right now, if you don't do anything, it's not moving, right? But once you start scrolling, right? Because Bonjour World is in box 2, it's going to move. It's going to stay fixed no matter where it is at the screen relative to box 3. And you might ask, well, what's the difference between fixed and sticky? Well, sticky, if you actually see Goodbye World, let me actually give it a color of red. So Goodbye World actually stops until a certain point, and that certain point is from the top 200 pixels, which is from the top of box 2, 200 pixels, which is right about here where Goodbye World is right now. But Bonjour World doesn't even move. it just stays fixed to the web page no matter where you are until you actually pass by it. So once you scroll by it, it starts being fixed to the web page. Now this is useful if you want to have like in your websites, you want to have things that are just fixed there all the time. For example, like a certain link to or a reference to something or like a login or like a link to one of like to your Instagram, to your business Instagram, etc. So that's what positioning is in that case. Okay. So let me know when you have that.
I have.
Okay. So you can practice a little bit more. I did leave the key. Let's see. I posted the key also. I posted the recording session. So I'll post this recording session later after this, and you can just practice a little bit more with positioning and make your own boxes and even explore more positioning methods. Okay. So here is the JavaScript template. I'm going to send that to you in the chat. So for JavaScript, I don't even think that I recommend you even like writing it down, following along because we're not going to use it for our project. So if you could just watch along, that's fine. If you want to follow along and write your notes, that's good anyway, but you could just copy paste it from the key. I posted that in the Google Classroom. So let me actually open it myself. Okay, let me know when you have a copy.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I have it open.
Sorry, what?
I have it open.
Okay. All right. So when it comes to JavaScript, it's a little bit complicated. Well, not complicated, but you need to know more of the basics to actually even get started with applying JavaScript to your web page. And because we're not going to learn the whole syntax of JavaScript, that would be another day. We're just going to introduce you to like two things that are not really they're just working with buttons and it's a little cool, but we're not going to be using them. I just want to introduce them to you so that you know that you can apply functionality to your code as well. Okay, so if you go to your, let me open this up, index.html, the first thing you want to do is you're going to go under the first section, okay? And you're going to add a paragraph. You're just going to call it demo, okay? And inside this paragraph, you're going to give it an ID called my para, which stands for my paragraph. I'm just abbreviating it so you don't have to write paragraph. Okay. So my paragraph, give it an ID, my para. And then you're going to add a button and you're going to give it type, right? Button. Close the button tag. And you want it to say start. You want the button to say start. So when you run this, it should give you demo, and then you should have a start button. And right now, it has no functionality, so it should just look like this, okay? Let me know when you have that.
I have it.
Okay. The next thing you want to do is you want to go under section 2, and we're just setting up the HTML here. So we're going to do another button. You can close your button tag. Once you do that, you're going to go to the start tag and you're going to specify the type. So in this case, it's going to be button because it's a button. And you're going to give it an ID called countdown because this button is going to actually, when you press it, it's going to count down from 5. And you're going to start with, we're going to start with 5. So we're going to have 5 right here. And run that, and it should give you something that looks like this. Should give you a button that starts with 5. Okay? Let me know when you have that, and then we're going to switch to our CSS style sheet.
I have it.
Okay. Go to Files, style.css. I'm sorry, did I say CSS? I mean JavaScript. We're not in CSS anymore. Okay. So the first section, I'm in CSS. JavaScript. There we go. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a message that pops up once you click the button start, okay? So once you click the button start, a hidden message should pop up. So the way we do this is we're going to specify or actually declare a function. So the way we declare a function actually is very literal. You write actually function, and then you write the name of your function. So in JavaScript, we're going to do function click. So that's going to be our whatever function is going to be called function click, because when we click on it, it's going to do something. And we're going to specify what it's going to do in a second. And we're going to do parentheses, and then inside we're going to do curly brackets. And then the way you specify, you know how, if you remember in Python, we worked with variables, right?
Yeah.
So the way you specify variables in JavaScript is you actually have to specify that it is a variable. So it's var, okay? So that's going to be var, and then you name your variable. So let's say var x, okay? I'm going to say it's equal to document. So in this case, this is the HTML document. Document.get element by ID. Okay, so it is case sensitive. So make sure you have it exactly as it is. Get element by ID. And this is what this is going to do. It's going to, you know how in CSS we use selectors to target our what we want to, what we want to style. In JavaScript, we use this method here to actually target what we want to add functionality to. So in this case, we're using get element by ID. And if you remember, we gave the paragraph an ID of my para. We're going to do my para. And we're going to add a semicolon at the end there. Okay. And after that, we're going to target the X variable. We're going to add a method to it, and we're going to do inner HTML, okay? And we're going to set it equal to hello world. Let me know when you have that.
I have it.
Okay. So if you go to files, index.html, and you go back here, you actually are going to make sure you specify or actually apply the function to your index.html. So inside the start tag, after your type attribute, there's another attribute called onClick. So you're going to set that equal to the function click. Okay. So onClick, what this is telling your HTML to do is that, okay, once my client clicks this button, I'm going to run the function click. Okay, fun click, right? So when you run that, okay, you run that. When you click on start, it's going to reveal the hidden message, hello world, okay? And you can change it to anything you want. You can change it to goodbye world, whatever. But that's how that works, okay? So that's some functionality. That's a hidden message. The second one is a countdown button. So we're going to go to our CSS. Do you have this HTML? Not our CSS. I keep saying CSS.
Yeah.
I mean JavaScript. Let me delete the CSS so I don't keep saying it. Okay. For this one, okay, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add another function. We're going to call this function countdown, which makes sense because we are counting down. And we're going to add some curly brackets, some parentheses first, and then some curly brackets. And then we're going to add a variable called current value. So instead of current value writing it out, I'm going to just say CURR for current and then val for value. Set that equal to document dot get element by ID. And we're going to write countdown because if we remember correctly, we go back to our .html, we have our this button as ID'd as countdown, okay? And then we're going to do dot inner HTML semicolon, okay? And after that, we're going to do a new variable called new value. And we're going to set this equal to our current value minus 1. So what that does is it takes our current value and it subtracts 1. So every single time we run this function, it's going to give us our new value, which is our current value minus 1. Okay. And the last line we're going to do is document dot get element by ID. And I'm going to specify countdown again. We do dot inner HTML and we're going to set it equal to our new value. And that's the function, okay? So when we run this function, this is everything that's going to happen. It's going to take the current value. Well, this is just taking the current value. It's going to take the current value, subtract it by 1, set it equal to new value, and it's going to return the new value, okay? When we run that, and you take a look at your browser, it should still look the same, but once you, oh wait, we actually did not specify the onClick attribute. Before you run it, go to HTML and we actually have to specify which function, what we want to happen when we click on this button. So on click, I'm going to set it equal to the countdown function. So countdown function, make sure you add your parentheses, then you run it, okay? And once you run it, again, it's going to look the same until you click on it. Is it working for you?
No.
Well, let's see what we get wrong. See if we click on semicolon. Oh, we forgot a semicolon here. Make sure you add that in the second line. And it's still not working. Okay, let's see. Oh, I think we can't add spaces in between. So try taking away the space from the second line. So it should look like this one.
It's still not working.
Okay, let's see. We're gonna index HTML. So it's giving me an error that countdown is not a function. What do you mean? Countdown should be a function. It's literally right there. Okay, let's see what we did. So we ended this here, and that was a semicolon. Countdown, same thing. Let me look at the console. Oh, there we go. I think we spelled it wrong. I don't know. I don't know what I just did to fix it. I just copied and pasted. I think I don't know. It looked the same to me. All I did was literally just copy and paste countdown and just pasted it again here. Maybe I wrote the actual function wrong. It's working now. Does it work for you now? Try to, I don't even know, because it was
No.
the exact same thing. What? That's weird. Okay, I'm gonna send you the actual code. Just try to copy and paste it. Maybe there's like a spelling error, because that's what I did. I did countdown and then so try to copy and paste that one. That's your HTML, and then let me send you the not the CSS, the JavaScript. Okay. See if that works for you. But yeah, so anything goes down to negatives if you keep clicking on it. And it just keeps doing that and that. Okay, that's the functionality. Let me see if it actually works for you. If not, try to do it after again by yourself, piece by piece, because I don't know if it was just a spelling error. So yeah, let me know if you still get an error.
I have it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so that was our JavaScript. We're done with that. And now sorry, it is 11. So I'll do this real quick, but I think we're gonna have to meet up on Monday so I can actually show you how to do the project. And I'm actually gonna show you right now a quick the actual project that I have in mind for you. Let me just upload it. No, that's not it. Okay, here's the project example. So I'm going to show you how it looks like, and then on Monday we're going to talk about it more, and I'm going to give you like a guideline of what to do, and I'll be there if you need help because I know there might be things that we didn't cover here. So there really isn't, oh, I'm not sharing the tab. Sorry. Okay, so this is what it looks like. There really isn't anything that we didn't cover. For example, this is the header. The only thing that we didn't cover is the navigation bar, but I'm going to go over the structure of an HTML web page on Monday, and then that's pretty much all you need to know. So we have the hover. We went over that. Hover the links. This is the showcase. I'll cover that. The footer. I'll cover that also on Monday. But we talked about positioning, so you can practice positioning here because I use positioning for this. This is an actual image. I didn't actually add. I actually did this on Canva. Have you used Canva before?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so I just did the background on Canva, like the circles here in the image, and then I just added this using CSS and HTML. But we'll get to that also. You have like a little blog here. This is basically also positioning, and I'll show you a little bit more on this. So this is kind of what we did with box one. Remember, if like the read more button, so hover, okay. Then my work doesn't really have anything. And then the contact page is, we did this also. I think the only thing we didn't do was getting the input boxes to hover, but I'll show you that on Monday too. Okay. So this is basically what your project is going to look like. It's gonna be about you. So it's kind of like your own website, your own portfolio. And we'll go over it on Monday. So same time on Monday. And if you have any questions, then let me know. Review the material over the weekend if you have time. And yeah, do you have any questions?
No.
No. Okay. So that's that. Thank you for coming. I hope you
Thank
enjoy,
you.
and I'll talk to you on Monday. Bye.